श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः। So we come to the sutra number 130. We have 3 more sutras to complete. Number 13, 113, 114 and 115. எட்டிடையாய் மூன்று ஷரடாயிருப்பதொரு மங்கள சூத்திரம் போலே திருமந்திரம். பாரியைக்கு மங்கள சூத்திரதாரணம் பர்த்தாவுக்கு அனன்யார்ஹமென்று காட்டுமா போலே திருமந்திரதாரணம் சேதனர்க்கு பகவத் அனன்யார்ஹத்வ பிரகாசகத்துவம் என்னுமிடத்தோத்த வித்தை ஒரு மங்கள சூத்திரமாக நிரூபித்தருளிச் செய்கிறார். எட்டிடையாய் என்று தொடங்கி so here Piladokacharya finally concludes what is mentioned in the Tirumantra Prakaranam as the meaning of Tirumantra. We have examined several connotations of each and every alphabet. And also the several hidden meanings that exist in the Tirumantra or the Ashtakshara Mahamantra as we all know it. Finally, Piladokacharya gives a wonderful analogy and concludes what is known as the Tirumantra Prakarana or this chapter on Tirumantra. He says, Oru Mangala Sutram Pole Tirumantram. It is like a Mangala Sutra. What is a Mangala Sutra? In the Indian tradition, when the marriage occurs, the husband or the groom ties a Mangala Sutra around the neck of the bride, which is known as Mangalya. Literally, Mangalya means that which is associated with Mangala or that which is associated with an auspicious event. So it is known as Mangalyam, Tirumangalyam or Tirumangalyam, and also Mangala Sutram. It is known as Sutra because it is actually, there is a specific methodology of doing it. So it is tied in a particular thread which is yellow in color. It is actually made into yellow in color. Because in the Indian tradition, all those things that are associated with the auspicious events, like when a person is born, then he has all the sacramental samskaras like Upanayana or Chaula, Vivaha, etc. These are all considered as Mangala karmas. And those associated with the person who is passed away is known as Pitra karmas. They are also to be carried out with equal diligence, etc. But the procedures for both are quite different. For example, if it is a Pitra karma, we have a pavitra that is made of darbha grass of one or three. So when a person has passed away and his obsequies are performed, until that Atma is made to merge with the forefathers or the pitris or the mains of their, as they are called in English, one single pavitra is used. But later, when all the pitra karmas are done, the pavitra or a particular type of, we cannot translate these words. And I'm sure Keshavadasji knows this and all the participants know this. So darbha, having 3 darbhas have to be used for in all the other obsequies or the annual ceremonies, etc. So there also kusha grass is one type of grass and darbha grass is another type of grass. Sometimes some people say both are the same, but they are essentially same, but with minor change in the they belong to the same genus, but there is a minor change. Kusha grass it is slightly round in shape and very sharp, whereas darbha grass it is slightly flat and it is also sharp, but both of them belong to the same category and both of them are fit to be used in the Vedika karmas or the Vedic rituals. Similarly, in the Agama rituals also they are extensively used. So this is and even when I say Agama rituals, even in the Griharchana or when the Tiruvaradhanam is to be performed, they have to be used. That is the tradition. So why I am mentioning this is that the Mangala Sutra is tied by the bridegroom in the neck of the bride to signify that she belongs to him. Of course, he also belongs to her. Both are equally important. So they belong to each other forever. So even if the husband dies, she cannot marry another person. That is the tradition that is prevailing even now in India in several things, several households or several families or several communities. Of course, in some communities they allow widow remarriage, etc. But it's a very, very, very complicated and very big issue, which I would not like to go into right now. So that signifies that they are eternally connected to each other, even though ultimately one person has to leave before. That's a different thing. But until then, they are very faithful to each other. But this has so many connotations because Westerners ask many a times in your Indian tradition, even though the husband and the wife may not see eye to eye, they might not have the same opinion. Even then, you stay together, or there is a tradition of stay. There was a tradition, we have to put it was because nowadays everything has gone to dogs in the Indian tradition. So there was a time when they used to stay together, even though they did not see eye to eye, or they had several differences of opinion. So it's a type of bondage. So what the Indian tradition has said or is doing is totally incorrect. So the husband and wife should be very they should be independent, and they should have the freedom to leave each other whenever they want to leave each other. In other sense, they should be free to divorce each other whenever they want. But in hindsight, in India, so this is a very, very huge topic, a social issue, a socio-religious issue that needs to be mentioned in very great detail, though it's not pertinent, so I'll not go into it. I'll conclude this matter here itself. But in hindsight, it is not so. It's a very, very, very delicate issue, but we can say after studying all the systems in the world, the Indian system is the system that is fraught with a least number of risks. There are lacuna, or there are problems in every system, because human nature is so diverse and so complicated that you cannot say one size fits all. That's not the case. But in the Indian system, which was devised by the sages of yore, that is fraught with the least number of risks and least number of problems. That much can be said. So the Mangala Sutra signifies that this lady is dedicated and faithful and belongs to her husband alone and nobody else. So two aspects. The Mangala Sutra is one aspect, which signifies that she is a married, which proves that she is a married lady to others. And also the toe rings, which actually show that she is a married woman. So this actually, the way a married woman is seen is that in Ramayana it is said, Matruvat Paradaran. People, they are, others' wives are to be considered as mothers. So even in the Indian tradition, if there is a very beautiful woman who is not married, there is nothing wrong in falling in love with her, but within the corners of the dharma. So there is a beautiful episode in Kalidasa's Abhigyana Shakuntala. I don't know whether you are familiar with that work. So when Dushyanta sees Shakuntala for the first time, immediately his mind is attracted towards her. But then he knows that he is visiting the ashram of Kanva Maharshi, or the sage Kanva, who is a highly exalted and evolved soul, and who he knows is a Brahmin. But then Dushyanta is such a person who is steeped in dharma that he says, oh, my mind is getting attracted to this girl. But is it correct? What if she is a Brahmin girl? Because Dushyanta is supposed to be a king who belongs to the Kshatriya class. So it is prohibited for persons of a lower class to fall in love or marry girls who are belonging to an upper caste, namely, he may belong to the Brahmin caste, or class rather. I would not like to use caste, class. Once again, whether this is right or not, etc., this caste system has killed India or something like that is what Westerners analyze generally, but it's not so. Because even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says Guna Karma Vibhagashaya, etc. That is another big topic which I will not like to go into now. But then Dushyanta says, I am a person with utmost self-confidence, he says. I am a person who is steeped in dharma. And if my mind is attracted towards this girl, in all probability, she might not be a Brahmin girl. So she might be a Kshatriya girl. So he says, Satam hi sandeha padeshu vastushu pramanam antahkarana pravrittaya. When there is a doubt, you actually delve deep into the heart of your hearts and ask yourself, is what I am doing correct? And if your conscience says what you are doing is correct, then you proceed with that. So when Dushyanta asks himself, is it correct that my mind is attracted towards Shakuntala, is it not incorrect? Then he asks his own conscience and says, my conscience is telling what I am doing is correct. That means she is not a Brahmin. So there is nothing wrong in falling in love with her. But he knows that she is unmarried because she doesn't have a Mangala Sutra, or she doesn't have a Tori. So once a lady is wearing a Mangala Sutra and having a Tori, of course, Toring has several other significances which I am not going to write now. It means that she is to be revered as a mother because she belongs to some other person. And nobody can fall in love with her or have any premonitions or imaginations or any such thing as far as that lady is concerned. So the Mangala Sutra is very, very, very significant as far as the Indian tradition is concerned. Especially in the South Indian tradition, because in the North Indian tradition, some people wear that Mangala Sutra and others do not. Of course, nowadays there has been a total Sankarya or total invasion, a cultural invasion from the West, that all the Indians have given up, or 99% of the Indians have given up all their traditions. Anyway, so here he says, Yettilayai Moondru Sharadayirippaduru Mangala Sutram Pole Tirumantram. So it has 8 strands, and so for example, now I to explain this, I have to say like this. So this is actually so there are 2 Yajnopavitas, we call it as. So in each Yajno, for Grihasthas, it has to be 2. So of 3 each. So there are 3 strands here. So this is known as Moondru Sharad. I think you can see it. In each of these, there are 3. And in one of the 3, there are 3 more. So if you do like this, you can see 3. So that means in these 3, you have 3 more. 3 strands are done together to make it 3. So this has 3, this has 3, and this has 3. So this makes 1 Yajnopavita. So for Grihasthas, it should be 2 Yajnopavitas. So you have 2. So this is like this. So in the Indian tradition, earlier, from what we understand here, we have Swami Manavada Mamuni says, அதாவது 16 சரடாயிருக்கும் லௌகிகமானசு மங்கள சூத்திரம் போல் அன்னிக்கே எட்டிளையாய் 3 சரடாயிருப்பதொரு மங்கள சூத்திரம் போலே. So Manavada Mamuni says that the Mangala Sutra has to have 2 main strands, each consisting of 16 strands or 8 strands each. So it was like that in the earlier days. But nowadays, it is not so. It has 3 strands consisting of 3 each in the Karnataka region. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, it is 5 strands consisting of 3 each. In each strand, there are 3 sub-strands, I would like to say like that. So here he says, Yettilayai moondru sharadayirippadoru mangala sutram pole tirumantram. Overall, it contains 3 strands, but totally there are 8 strands, all put together. So you can take it as 3 plus 3 plus 2 or something like that. And what does this Mangala Sutra convey? It conveys that this Jivatma is wedded to the Supreme Lord alone and not to himself or any other Jivatma. So why 8 and why 3? So 8 strands or 8 substrands denotes the 8 alphabets or aksharas or varnas. We call it as Ashta Akshara Mahamantra. So he says 8 strands, 8 substrands put together. And then Moondru Sharad, that means it's of 3. It contains 3 main strands, namely the 3 words Om, Namaha, and Narayana. Yeah. So this Mangala Sutra conveys that this Jivatma, who is chanting the Ashtakshara Mahamantra after having been initiated into the same by a qualified Acharya, that this Jivatma is subservient or dedicated to the Supreme Lord alone and nobody else, not to any other Jivatma or to himself. So that is why he says this Mangala Sutra is different from other Mangala Sutras in the sense that it has 8 substrands and 3 main strands. Yettu Thiruvaksharamai Moondru Padamai Irukkira Ittirumantram Engai. இப்படி நிரூபித்துச் சொன்னவித்தால் எவ்வர்த்தம் சொல்லுகிறது என்று அருளிச் செய்கிறார். So why is such an analogy given? That explanation is given in Sutra number 114. இத்தால் ஈஸ்வரன் ஆத்மாக்களுக்கு பதியாய் நின்று ரட்சிக்கும் என்கிறது. So the main intention of saying so is that the Supreme Lord Ishvara will protect all the Jivatmas without fail in all manners. So that's what it means. அதாவது இம்மந்திரத்தை மங்கள சூத்திரமாக சொன்னவித்தால் ஈஸ்வரன் இத்தோடன்வயமுடைய ஆத்மாக்களுக்கு பதியாய் நின்று கொண்டு ரட்சிக்கும் என்று சொல்லுகிறதென்கை. So the main issue here is he will protect, he is bound to protect all the Jivatmas who have been initiated into the Ashtakshara Mahamantra in the formal manner and who, as a result of practicing the Ashtakshara Mahamantra, have conveyed their subservience or prapatti. So, if the question is, will the Ishvara not protect other Jivatmas if they have not been initiated into the Ashtakshara and if they do not chant it? It doesn't mean that he doesn't protect other Jivatmas. It is up to him. He can protect or he cannot protect. He may not protect. He is totally independent. He can do what he wants. But if a person is initiated into the Ashtakshara Mahamantra and he chants it and does he conveys his prapatti to the Supreme Lord by chanting this, then what happens? The Ishvara is bound by all means to protect us, Jivatma. So he may protect or he may not protect a person who is not a Prapanna or a Sharanagata. But he is bound to protect a Prapanna, a Sri Vaishnava who has been initiated into the Ashtakshara and he is chanting it with the mindset that I am totally subservient to the Supreme Lord. So this is one important aspect of the Ashtakshara Mahamantra. Second aspect is, ini mantrattal பிரதிபாதிக்கிற அர்த்தத்தை சங்கிரகித்து சொல்லி தை நிகமித்தருளுகிறார். So the sutra number 115 is the complete summary of the Ashtakshara Mahamantra or the Tirumantra. ஆஹா திருமந்திரத்தால் எம்பெருமானுக்கே உரியேனானதான் எனக்குரியன் அந்நிக்கே ஒழிய வேணும் சர்வசேஷியான நாராயணனுக்கே எல்லா வடிமைகளும் செய்ய வேணும் செய்ய பெறுவேனாக வேணும் என்னதாய்த்து. So the literal meaning is, the summary of the Tirumantra is, I, namely this Jivatma, is subservient in all ways to the Supreme Lord alone and is not subservient to any other person other than the Supreme Lord. And finally, the Lord Narayana, who is the Sarvasheshi, or to whom everything is subservient, I have to perform all types of services to the Supreme Lord at all times, by all means. This is the summary of this Ashtakshara Mahamantra or Tirumantra. This is very well summarized once again by Swami Manavana Mamuni, who says, ஆஹா இத்திருமந்திரத்தால் என்று தொடங்கி கீழ் பறக்க அருளிச் செய்த எல்லாவற்றையும் தொகுத்தருளிச் செய்கிறார் என்றும் என்னும் இடம் தோத்தா. So all those things that were explained in great detail have been summarized in these 3 or 4 lines. So எம்பெருமானுக்கே உரியேனானதான், I am subservient to the Supreme Lord alone and nobody else. This was conveyed by, among these 3, எம்பெருமானுக்கே, to the Supreme Lord alone, was conveyed or explained by Chaturthyantamana Prathamaksharatil Arthattayum. So the first letter, first word called Om, you have the word A. So Om consists of A, U and Ma. So A refers to the fact that this Jivatma is for the Supreme Lord alone. Avadharanattare madhyamaksharattil arthattayum. So the assertion that he is subservient to the Supreme Lord alone and nobody else is conveyed by the middle alphabet of U. Uriyenananan endru tritiyaksharattil arthattayum. That subservience of the Jivatma, I, namely this Jivatma, which is having subservience as its subservient to the Supreme Lord as its very nature, is mentioned by the word, by the Makara. So Emberumanukke uriyenananan, I, this namely this Jivatma, is subservient to the Supreme Lord alone and nobody else, is conveyed by the first syllable, also the first word, namely Om. Arthattayum shalluhiyare prathama padarthattai sangrahittapadi. Then எனக்குரியன் என்கிறது, இதில் எனக்குரியன் என்று ஷஷ்டியந்தமான மகாரார்த்தத்தையும் அன்னிக்கே ஒழிய என்கையால் நகாரார்த்தத்தையும். So Namaha, Maha, Na. So Maha means that which belongs to some other entity or some other person. Namaha, it belongs to nobody else other than the Supreme Lord. Has been mentioned in these 3 words which are mentioned by Pitalokacharya in this sutra. எனக்குரியன் அன்னிக்கே ஒழிய வேணும் என்கையாலே இவ்வர்த்தம் சேதனனுக்கு பிரார்த்தனீயம் என்னுமத்தையும் பிரதிபாதிக்கையாலே மத்தியம பரார்த்தத்தை சங்கிரகித்தபடி. So it's also the fact that this Jivatma has to put forth a request to the Supreme Lord that you please accept me as your servant. That is very important. So, Yamgiyale Vartham Chetananakku Prarthaniyam. So he says he should perform Sharanagati. But once again, we may land up in a controversy as to whether Prapatti is Upaya or not. So let us not go into that aspect. Of course, we can discuss that separately if required. Then Sarvasheshiyana Narayananakke Ella Vadimehanum Chayya Perivenaha Venum. So I should become such a person who shall serve the Supreme Lord alone in all types at all times. This is mentioned by Narayanaya. This is mentioned by the word Narayanaya in the Ashtakshara Mahamantra, the third word. Sarvasheshyana Narayananikke endra Kainkarya Pratisambandhiyayum Kainkarya Prarthana Prakashikiyana Chaturthiyayum. So Narayanaya, you have the dative case suffix. So dative case suffix and the word Narayana mention that he is the person who has to accept the Kainkarya that we do it to him. So this is one very important aspect that we might not have stressed upon earlier. The fact is that even if we want to offer it to him, he should accept it. That is the most important thing. Suppose I want to say, I want to go and serve the Prime Minister, I want to cook some meal for him. The Prime Minister has to accept it. Otherwise, how can I serve him? Similarly, here it says, Kainkarya Pratisambandhiyam, Kainkarya Prarthana Prakashikiyana Chaturtheyum, Ella Vadimehanum Shayyavena, Shayyapperivena Havenam in the Kainkarya Prarthana Prakaratyum Shullahayale, Tritiya Pararthatai Sangrahita Padi. So we have to request him, or this Jivatma has to request him that he should accept our service. If he doesn't accept the service, then what can we do? Even if we want to serve, whom will we serve? Or if he is not favorably disposed towards us, it will be a big problem for us. Of course, the Supreme Lord never rejects any Jivatma who has come to him, because we call him as Sharanagata Vatsala. Not only does he like the people who have surrendered to him, he also forgives all the sins that have been committed by persons who have surrendered to him. So it is his vow. That is why it says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Ahantva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Mashutaha. Because even if we supposedly express our servitude to him, what is the rule that he will accept? The question will come. Then the answer is that he has made a vow that he will surely accept any person who wants to surrender to him. That is why here he says, Ahamtva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. But in the Sri Rama Charama Shloka, I think you are familiar with the Charama Shlokas, or the final verdict type of shlokas, verses which are mentioned in Ramayana, Mahabharata, that is Bhagavad Gita, then also in the Varaha Charama Shloka, which I have already mentioned. That is Sakradeva Prapannaya Tavasmi Tiyachate Abhayam Sarva Bhutebhya Dadami. To all beings I give Abhaya, I give refuge. And he says, Dadami etad vratam mama. So this is the vow that I have undertaken. So it might be a human being, or even animals, or even plants. All beings can surrender to me, and I will protect them. This is my vow. So that is why all the three, the Tirumantra, Dvaya and Charamashloka, all the three are together called as Mumuksupadi or Rahasya Traya, because they are mutually supplementary and complementary to each other. Because one person may ask, I will surrender by all means to the Supreme Lord. What is the guarantee that he will accept? The answer given to that is in The answer to that question is given in Charama Shloka. So, Kainkariya Prarthana, and also he says how one should actually request the Lord to bestow on himself, that is the Jivatma, the opportunity to serve him. Because many a times when we approach somebody who is very much senior to us, we will not know what type of words should be used. Especially suppose I meet the governor of Karnataka, you are supposed to say Your Excellency or something like that. Of course, it's a colonial practice anyway. So when we refer to a person who is in a very high post, a constitutional post, as they say it in India, call it in India, we say Your Excellency. Or when we talk to the king, we say Your Highness or something like that. Or Your Majesty or Her Majesty or something like that. Suppose I go to the Queen of England and address her in a very ordinary manner, it will be a breach of protocol. So we have to know how a person has to be talked to, because that is very, very important. So breach of protocol should not be. But we are totally unaware of how we should approach the Supreme Lord, because we have not seen him and we don't know much about him. Therefore, it is the Supreme Lord himself who has shown us how we should actually approach him and how we have to address him by giving us this Ashtakshara Mahamantra. That's why it was mentioned, Tane Shishyanumaya Acharyanumaya Tirumantratte Velittaruninan. Who is the person to whom the Ashtakshara Mahamantra was revealed? As far as Charama Shloka is concerned, it was revealed to Arjuna by Lord Krishna. But to whom was the Ashtakshara Mahamantra revealed? It was revealed by the Supreme Lord Narayana to himself. Tane Shishyanumaya, he himself was the Shishya and he himself was the Acharya. And we know why he incarnated as both the Shishya and Acharya, which was explained earlier. Shishyanai Nannade Shishyanirikkumirippu Nattar Ariyameyale Atterivikekaha. Probably Sutra number 16 or 17, I don't remember the number. So why did he incarnate as the disciple also? He incarnated himself as the disciple also because he wanted ordinary people like us to know what is the code of conduct of a Shishya or a disciple. So by giving us the instruction of the Tirumantra or this Ashtakshara Mahamantra, he has also taught us how we should approach the Lord. What are the wordings that we should do when we want to convey our subservience to Supreme Lord? We have to just do nothing else but chant the Ashtakshara Mahamantra with the necessary objective of our mindset that we are subservient to the Supreme Lord. Kainkariya Prarthana Prakaratayam. That is why I said how the Supreme Lord is to be approached, with what words, etc. That also has been mentioned here. Sholluheyale Tritiya Padarthattai Sangrahittapadi Ennadaithe Ennade Yendre Shollittaithe Engai. So all these aspects have been covered. You can prepare a wonderful a mathematical diagram which says, so you have three, you can have a tree structure from the point of view of a mathematician. And my respected father used to say that all these things have to be represented in a mathematical form so that it becomes very easy for everybody to understand the purport. So you have in the first Om, you have three divisions, A, U, and Ma. So it has its respective meaning. They have their respective meanings. Then Namaha has two components, Na and Maha. These two have their own meanings. Then Narayana. Narayana encompasses a whole lot of meanings. And then Aya. So 3 plus 2 plus 3. is 8 strands. So each of these have specific meanings which are interconnected. So it's just like you can summarize it in the form of a tree structure, which can be easily understood by modern people who know the mathematical language or who can understand the mathematical language better than the literary language. விஸ்தரேண அருளிச் செய்ததை மீள்வும்படி சங்கிரகித்தருளிச் செய்தது இத்திருமந்திரார்த்தத்தை எல்லாரும் அறிந்து அனுசந்திக்கைக்காக. So this is the speciality. He says what has been mentioned in great detail has been summarized here so that even ordinary people or all people can understand the purport or essence of the Tirumantram. So if the final mantra number 11, the sutra number 115 is studied, the entire purport or essence of Tirumantra can be understood. So then he says why it is done so by Swami Pidalokacharya. In Sanskrit, there is a saying, Yuktam hi vidusham loke samasa vyasadhara. The mark of a great scholar is that he can summarize anything in a very small nutshell. And once again, he can expand it to become an ocean. So I don't know whether I have mentioned this anecdote. Once one of the greatest scholars or the greatest scholars who adorned the Sri Vaishnava firmament, namely Annangaracharya, who lived in Kanchipuram. He was known as Mahamahimopadhyaya. He was the first person to be given that title, according to what we know. He was the greatest, one of the greatest scholars or the greatest scholars, as we can say, because he knew the entire 4,000 Divya Prabandhas along with all their commentaries memorized. He knew the entire Vedas, all the Samanya Shastra, Saitnyaya, Vyakarna, etc. He was a great poet. And also he knew the meaning of the Vedas also. So that way he was a unique scholar, because nobody else could match his scholarship in width and depth. And he published more than 1,600 books during his lifetime of 94 years or 95 years. Even a huge university could not do that type of work. Even today, with all the facilities we have in terms of IT, in information technology tools, printing technology, advanced printing technology, etc. So it will take several hours to explain his greatness. And he could speak extempore in Sanskrit and Tamil in the best possible way. His language felicity was great. His vocabulary was extraordinary. So all the merits he had. So once he went to Kashi, which was the most exalted seat of scholarship in those days. And the rule there was that they would announce the topic on the spot. And the scholar has to actually talk about that subject for 1 hour in the presence of exalted scholars. That was how a scholar's capacity would be tested. So when Annangaracharya went to Kashi and he was invited to the assembly of scholars, they announced the topic as Bindau Sindhu, which literally means a drop in an ocean. So that was the topic given to Annangaracharya, and he was to talk about that topic in an extempore manner. He talked about in a wonderful manner about that topic, namely a drop in an ocean for 1 hour. And then he said, yeah, the persons who have suggested this topic are great, no doubt. But it would have been more wonderful if there would have been a slight change or interchange in the topic by saying Sindhau Bindu, an ocean in a droplet. The original topic given was a droplet in an ocean. So anybody can go to the sea or beach front and bring and get a droplet and drink it or do whatever they want. But what is very unique is an ocean in a droplet. So he said, after speaking beautifully about the topic, Sindhu Bindu meaning a droplet in an ocean, he changed the topic voluntarily and he interchanged the topic and he said, I am going to also talk about Sindhu Bindu means an ocean which is enshrined in a droplet. And then he explained the Tirumantrartha itself. How in Om, in the single syllable Om, it is like a droplet, the meaning of all the three words, namely Om Namaha Narayanaya, is enshrined or encompassed, or it is encrypted in a way. And then he said in the Ashtakshara Mahamantra how the whole of Vedanta has been summarized. So this is very, very unique thing which has been done by the Sri Vaishnava tradition, which is an ocean of knowledge has been encompassed in one droplet. So he talked about that, explained it in a very, very wonderful manner, after which the entire assembly of scholars consisting of great exalted, highest level of scholars, and they actually granted him the title of Mahamahimotadhyaya. So we see that the entire Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, the entire Vedas, Ittaive, Ranganam, Rishiharam, Malvaranam, Acharyaram, Virumbinara, all the Vedas, Vedangas, etc., are all encompassed. The summary of these are encompassed in the Ashtakshara Mahamantra, which we have just studied. So it is the norm of great scholars that they can expand anything in great detail into high, minute level details, and also encapsulate the entire information in a small nutshell. So that is why it has been mentioned as Yuktam hi vidusham loke samasa vyasadharana. Samasadharana is putting it in a nutshell. Vyasadharana is expanding it to any possible extent. So that is what Pillalokacharya has done. What he has mentioned in 114 sutras has been summarized in the last one sutra, namely the sutra number 115, which is once again extraordinarily explained by Swami Manavada Mami. Ahiyare ellarkum ivartham eppodum anusandheyam. So all people have to at all times continuously go over or think about these meanings that have been mentioned in the Tirumantrartha, which will deliver them from the samsara and ensure them that they proceed to attain moksha or liberation or salvation. Lokacharya Tiruvadihale Sharanam, Jiyat Tiruvadihale Sharanam. So with these words, the Tirumantra Prakarana, or the chapter on Tirumantra, is concluded. So the second chapter, namely the Dvayamantra, is to be explained further, which will be done in the next session. So I hope I have been able to convey the meanings of our greatest Purvacharyas, namely Pillalokacharya and his disciple, Sri Manavada Mamuni, to people who are assembled in this audience, online audience, of course. And some people might listen to it later, online, YouTube, etc. And I hope it has been of some use to you. And this, I owe a great debt of gratitude to my revered father, Shriman Shri U. Lakshmi Tatacharya Swami, and also my Acharya Kuttamangalam Varadacharya Swami, and several others who have taught me. Principally, these two are the persons. So with my humble pranams to both of them. I conclude this and hope it has been of use to you. It has been of some information to you, and hope we continue and conclude the 2 subsequent chapters also by their grace and by the grace of all our Purvacharyas, including the Lord Supreme Narayan. Thank you very much. Any feedback and questions are welcome.
Thank you very much, Swami. I'm very happy that we finished Tirumantra Prakaranam, and I'm looking forward to Dwaya Prakaranam. And as you said, so now we have understood the mantrartha, the meaning of the mantra in full. And we have to always think about the meaning of the mantra. And the mantra, we have the mantra, we have the knowledge of the meaning of the mantra. We have to think about that deeply. We also can use the mantra. And I think the only thing which is left, if we could set up a session, perhaps maybe before we go into Dwaya Prakaranam, if you could explain a little bit about the technicalities of the rules and regulations for chanting the mantra or using the mantra in different situations, like in Tiruvaradanam or whatever, and other technicalities like the Padanyasa and the Aksharanyasa of Tirumantram, and the correct method of doing it, because I think there are different methods of chanting. Some people may just be chanting. They without knowledge of the dhyanam, without knowledge of these other things. So if you could explain in a session the practical application, because we are told to think of the meaning, but we also need to use it in different situations like Tiruvaradanam or in some other reason.
Surely, I will attempt to do that.
Yes, Swami, I wanted to ask the same question. Can this Tirumantra be said every time as we are in a, or is it very specific, or it can be repeated the whole day or something?
Yes. Sarva Desha, Sarva Avasthayalinam. That's what has been mentioned.
Okay.
So
Somebody
even when
told
we
me.
are taking bath, etc., definitely it can be chanted without any hesitation at all times.
Okay.
So,
Somebody told me that this mantra shouldn't be repeated. The more, in that place, you should say only Sriman Narayana Charanam Sharanam. This is very. Some acharya told me that this mantra shouldn't be repeated anywhere and any place. In that place, you should say Sriman Narayana Charanam Sharanam Prapadye Srimate Narayana Namah. So that's what
if he has said
I was.
From a particular point of view, what he has said is correct. So actually, it is going to be mentioned that the Dvaya mantra is nothing but a further explanation of the Tirumantra only.
Mm.
But if he has said that there is some what we call as auchitya, there is some propriety in doing so. Yes, you can follow that. There is nothing wrong. So you have to realize that Dvaya mantra is not opposed to Tirumantra. So they are both having the same meaning, but one is more elaborate and it conveys the meaning in a more explicit manner than the Tirumantra. So fine. If you have been given such an instruction, there is nothing wrong in following that. So please follow.
Okay.
Uchedramanujetyesha chatura chaturakshari कामवस्थां प्रपद्यन्ते जन्तवो हन्तमादृशः पुण्यां भोजविकासाय पापध्वान्तक्षयाय च आविर्भूद्भूमौ रामानुजदिवाकरः तृणीकृतविरिञ्चारिनिरङ्कुशविभूतयः रामानुजपदाम्भोजसमाश्रयणशालिनः